And welcome in to the Season 2 premiere of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast here on your home for U22 Hockey, G-Show Productions. I'm your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. Super excited to be back and getting ready to get started for what is going to be our busiest season yet. Going into year 3 as a company. Very excited to tell you all about the exciting news we have in store regarding our game day broadcast for this upcoming year. But hoping everyone's had a wonderful summer, a wonderful off season. Hockey is already back. There's been teams that have gotten into exhibition play from different leagues from around the province here. And yeah, before we know it, regular season will be starting up. The Winnipeg Jets making a big hometown move, bringing in Jonathan Toews this offseason. Going to be talking about that in a later episode, as we are also going to be bringing back every once in a while some Jets talk, just to fill some time on this podcast when that may occur. But as for the news, we're going to get into it in just a moment here on the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. We're going to throw it to a promo screen, just getting back into things. So yeah, we don't quite have our commercials and transitions up and running yet, but I will tell you, there's some exciting stuff to report from around the Manitoba hockey scene already at the U22 levels. So yeah, we'll get into that and much more in tonight's edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast, in our return to podcasting here on G-Show Productions Podcast Premiere Week 2025-2026. The big announcement coming up next. Alright, so the big announcement. What is it? Well, it's that for this upcoming season, our games are going to be pay-per-view on your new home for game day on gshowproductions.uscreen.io. We had more details regarding a certain tournament we'll mention in just a moment here on our Instagram, hoping to post on places like X and more frequently on Facebook as well this year. But yeah, this is the big news. Our game days have a new home on Uscreen. It's a pay-per-view service. We tested it out during the 2025 MMJHL playoffs last spring, and yeah, super easy to use, easy to access, and a no-brainer for us as a big part of this whole experience this year using Uscreen is that, yes, the games that you'll be able to watch live. They will come at a cost. We will have subscription options as well as single game options, so you can either just buy a single game, or if you want, you can subscribe for a prices we have listed on our website. Go check it out at gshow.productions.uscreen.io. But a subscription you can use for access, I should say, you can access monthly, or you can go for the annual payment. A bit more money up front, I'd say probably a lot more money up front, but that's the alternative to monthly. And of course, we got our pay-per-view game options as well. In terms of who's going to be featured on G-Show game days this year, well, we're excited to bring back the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League and the Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League for another season. Going into year 3, it'll be the first time where regular season content as well as events, we're doing showcases, tournaments, a whole bunch of stuff this year will all be seen through a pay-per-view type of format, which of course is Uscreen. But another one of the leagues that will be broadcasting this year, in which I'm really excited about, is the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. Able to land an agreement with them for this upcoming season to become their official broadcast partner. Super excited to bring our game day experience to, I'd say just by the numbers, probably the biggest hockey league here in the U22 scene in Manitoba, in terms of just the quantity of teams. They had 36 last year. I believe they'll have around that again this year. But between these 3 leagues, you'll get over 200 games in total. That'll include regular season, playoffs, and showcase events, as well as tournaments that we're going to be doing this season. League and all access passes are available now. You'll only be able to watch the games live on our Uscreen feed, gshowproductions.uscreen.io. So what does that mean for our YouTube channel here? Well, that means we'll still be showcasing content from our game days. That's right. We're going to be showcasing highlights. We're going to be putting together highlights from games we do this season, showcasing that footage as well throughout our several different podcasts that we have, as we'll now have 5 officially, adding in a Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast into our coverage now. And yeah, it's just going to be really exciting. I'm really excited for it, and super excited for what's to come. Our first main event of the season, which is going to be in Portage La Prairie. Weekend passes are now available. We put it in a bundle. We haven't put the games up yet, but you will have 14 games available to watch for $35. That one-time price for that weekend pass, which is available on our website at gshowproductions.uscreen.io. Different ways to access it. It's on our website, both on our homepage when you're on your laptop, computer, whatever you may use, and it's also on the menu tab as well on our computer layout for Uscreen, as well as on our phone layout too, if you search it on your iPhone or Android device. But yeah, you'll be able to access that bundle if you hit the 2025 Cap Showcase pass button. I believe it's titled that, but don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. But excited for it. We're going to have 14 games to broadcast, all in the main rink at Stride Place Arena in Portage La Prairie, coming up in, well, almost a week. Just over a week at this point, as we'll be there next Friday all the way up until Sunday that weekend. But yeah, super excited. And the biggest thing that I'm excited for this year is not only giving back to the fans by broadcasting games like we have been for these past 3 years, or I guess past 2 years, going on year 3 now, but even though it will come at a price. Now, the beautiful thing is that a cut will be going back to every single one of these leagues. So the money you'll be spending will be going back to these leagues to help benefit them, whatever way they may see fit, whether that's producing scholarships with this money that's made this year, and whatever these leagues may think it is in their best interest to help improve the quality of their environment in their competitive playing seasons, which this competitive playing season 2025-2026 is going to be quite exciting, as every hockey season is. Regular season is going to be starting for some of these leagues in the province at the end of this month, some at the start of October, so next month. But no matter what, hockey, it feels like it's very much back. We're inching closer and closer to that. And plus, as mentioned in the intro of this first episode of season 2, teams from around the province have already gotten into exhibition slash preseason play. So I'm going to get into all of that coming up soon here, but yeah, just super stoked to announce the news about our new era and what you can be expecting to see this year. Be sure to check out our game day packages, our monthly and annual subscriptions on our Uscreen service, our Uscreen website at gshowproductions.uscreen.io. And by the way, down the line this year, we're still in the process of getting these made, but there's going to be apps that will be released for you to download to be able to access our Uscreen service as well, both on the App Store as well as on Google Play on the Android version of the App Store. But yeah, big upgrade to the brand. Super excited. Hope y'all come along for the ride, and yeah, just can't wait to see what happens this hockey season, especially for those 3 leagues that we're going to be covering on game days in the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League, Manitoba Female Hockey League, as well as the newly acquired Winnipeg High School Hockey League to our broadcast family, which I'm really fired up to be able to cover that league. And hey, new podcast involving the Winnipeg High School Hockey League drops this Friday. You won't want to miss it this Friday night. But yeah, we're going to get into some results, schedules, all that good stuff coming up in this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast, the Season 2 premiere. It's great to be back, Manitoba hockey fans. We'll be back in just a moment for news surrounding the U22 Manitoba hockey scene. And welcome back to the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. By the way, great to be back in the basement, too. That's where I started off doing my podcast. Moved up to my room for, well, reasons I won't explain here last year, but yeah, back down here for a new season, and yeah, back in the old saddle, as the old saying goes. But as for news surrounding the Manitoba hockey scene, as mentioned, teams have already gotten into exhibition play, exhibition action. The MJHL kicked off their preseason on Labor Day. The Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League will be kicking off their preseason coming up in a few days on September 11th, and we'll get into that right now as we start off with the Manitoba U18 AAA exhibition schedule. A few things to note here: the defending champion Brandon Wheat Kings will play 3 games in 3 days. It is preseason, though, so they will have a few extra bodies to spare as opposed to regular season, where this would be a pretty crazy stretch. What a way to start things off for Brandon. As for some Saskatchewan AAA Hockey League teams from the U18 scene over there, the Notre Dame Hounds and Yorkton Mullers coming into Souris, Manitoba to take on teams like the Pembina Valley Hawks, the Southwest Cougars, and I believe it's the Southwest Cougars preseason showcase coming up this weekend. So it's a great way to kick off exhibition play for both sides of the prairies here in the 2025-2026 hockey season, moving on into the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. Preseason, of course, as mentioned, started on Labor Day. The defending champion Northern Manitoba Blizzard took on the SJHL's Flin Flon Bombers. Flin Flon very strong to start off their stay in Manitoba, as they saw and they conquered. To use that old cliche, a 4-2 win and then a 7-3 win over the defending champs. One thing to note, preseason exhibition, the results really don't mean anything, but interesting to note that the Blizzard went undefeated in preseason last year. They went on to win the MJHL championship. Other teams that have been in action, Steinbach took on the Winkler Flyers. Steinbach, if you take a look at their results so far, undefeated through their first 2 games, taking the home against the Winkler Flyers 2-0 in that series score. Steinbach and Flin Flon, the only teams in the MJHL's preseason action that haven't dropped a game of any sort so far. By the way, the teams from Saskatchewan competing, we got the Yorkton Terriers that are playing from Saskatchewan, 5 teams in total, as we see Yorkton there. They're the only Saskatchewan-based team to get going so far as preseason rolls along in the MJ. More of their teams will be in the Estevan Bruins. As we take a look here, they'll be playing, as well as the Flin Flon Bombers, them coming from the SJHL. We got the Minot Montoros from the NHL playing in some preseason action here as well in the province of Manitoba. So a lot of variety to start things off. And of course, the Melville Millionaires taking on Wayway Sikapo, the Wolverines, coming up on September 9th for the full exhibition schedule and results from around the MJHL. Be sure to visit their website at mjhl.ca. And by the way, a nice look for the Winnipeg Freeze, who are now the Winnipeg Monarchs, as they rebranded, coming up for the upcoming season. As we'll take a look back here, they dropped their most recent game against the Winnipeg Blues 6-5 a few days ago, back on Sunday. As for the, provincial hockey scene, as it's a tradition every season for both the female and male side to put together a provincial team for the female side at the U18 age group level, and for the male side, the U16 age group. We're going to start off with talking about the U18 females, as they ended up taking on the U of M Bisons in the annual 3-game series that is played in the road to the national tournament that this Team Manitoba team is going to be playing in. As we take a look at the roster, notable returning talent, they'll bring back one returnee in net in Addison Tomes, who was incredible for the Eastman Selects last season. The defending champs headed into this year in the MFHL, they also see Isabelle Labossiere, who makes this roster. Tomes and Labossiere made up the tandem for the Eastman Selects last year. Danica Averill, who's no longer playing in the MFHL. She played for the Brandon Wheat Kings last year. She makes this roster as well this year. On the defensive side of things, the D-Corps, the only returning defenseman, Attica Sobering, 2009 born. Even though this team lost a lot of talent on the defensive side of things, Veda Rigo, an addition like that, Charlie Shear, players like Leah Texiera and Sadie Swanton of the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy Buffaloes. Some nice additions on the back end for this side. And then up front, retaining players like Rio Pierre, Zoe Kramer, McDonald as well. in terms of Haley McDonald, that is, from East St. Paul, and Taylor Tarrant all make their return to this year's Team Manitoba squad. And Team Manitoba is going to get maybe a boost of skill even. Reese Schutte earns a full-time spot. She was an alternate last year on this roster, and Ivy Perkin ends up making this roster. Didn't end up making the final cut last year. Team Manitoba, yeah, in terms of their first weekend against a college team, a university team that's also getting ready for their season in the U of M Bisons, I think it's a pretty good showing. You get a 1-0 victory, sure. You'd like to have that 7-3 game back, and that 5-4 game even. You like to see it flip, but seeing it end off on a very tight matchup, a 5-4 loss, I think you can take a lot of positives away from this weekend. There's a lot of skill, a lot of talent on this year's Team Manitoba team, as there usually has been throughout the years. It's their first time really playing together in a competitive setting against a team in organized action. So, yeah, really excited to see what this team can do. They got a record breaker that I think is looking to lead the way in Rio Pierre. That broke almost every single record in the MFHL last year. Vader Rigaud broke the single season scoring record held by a defenseman too. And Adeline Nolgren, she is very familiar with playing with Rio Pierre, as they were line mates last season. We'll be interested to see if Team Manitoba, their coaching staff, looks to go to that duo throughout their tournament action, which coming up for Team Manitoba, as we pull up their U18 national team. So I had the tab open, but now I don't have it open. Leave that closed when heading into this episode. But yeah, November 3rd to 8th in Newfoundland and Labrador is when the tournament will kick off. And by the way, the final roster still has to be made. It is a top 24 roster. Team Manitoba, their coaching staff, looking to cut it down to 20 once the tournament kicks off November 3rd to 8th in the Maritimes. And look, I think that there's a lot of talent to choose from on this year's Team Manitoban team, and could be some disappointments maybe, but look for some of those players to be alternates. That is usually the case, that there's some alternates on that squad as well. There was 3 last season, of course, Reese Schutte, as mentioned, being one of them. As for Team Manitoba's U of M Bison squad, they get back into action coming up this weekend, one at home, and then they travel to Yorkton, Saskatchewan to take on the U of R Cougars this Sunday. U of M taking on 2 teams, university programs from the Prairies, and University of Saskatchewan and the University of Regina, and looking to build towards their season opener, which is coming up very soon. Before we know it. That is, as for Team Manitoba, always nice to get some traveling done early in the season, some bonding before the real games start. Of course, Team Manitoba last year ended up making it to the semifinals in the U Sports playoffs. Ended up falling to the first seed in the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds, but yeah, that was the best team in the nation, and Team Manitoba resilient, battling the quarters to get through. But as for when they will start off their season, yeah, I thought it was in October, and I am right. Not until October, Friday, October 10th, and Saturday, October 11th, they'll be at home at Wayne Fleming Arena to take on the University of Regina Cougars. So they go to their home coming up this Sunday, and then Regina's going to be in Manitoba coming up in a little less than a month from when that matchup is played in October, on the 10th to the 11th. As for the U16 side of things, the WHL Cup, as that's the picture of the 2023 WHL Cup champion team Manitoba squad, courtesy that picture of Hockey Manitoba, as we give them credit in that bottom right corner of the screen. But yeah, some good talent on this Manitoba side. We'll have to do a deep dive as I'm not totally familiar with this roster and the skill that they possess truly as of yet. Gotta do my due diligence and research them, as well as the other teams that are going to be competing in the WHL Cup. As for the WHL Cup, that's coming up in for sure over a month. But yeah, just taking a look at this Team Manitoba squad. In net, they got a strong goaltender in Gavin Hildebrand. Faced a lot of action last year for the U15 Buffaloes for Pilot Mountain. But yeah, he was a standout on a strong U15 team for that program. Another standout, Cole Landerville, who he's honestly one of the best U15 players, or I guess U16 players at this point in the country. I'll say it, at least in Western Canada. Kid's been dynamite for the Pilot Mountain Buffaloes. But yeah, those two, of course, looking to make an impact. We take a look at Jackson Dean. He's looking to have a strong tournament for himself, as well as the rest of these players. What a name, too. Crosby Matejchuk from Dominion City. Looking to make an impact on the defensive side of things, too. Team Manitoba team that, of course, made history. This program did back in 2023, claiming their first WHL Cup championship in the province's history. As for Team Manitoba, so bring up their roster coming up for this season. Just bear with me. The tabs closing and all that. Absolutely driving me crazy here. But yeah, we'll have more on this WHL Cup squad coming up in the upcoming episodes as we continue to preview not only them, but the U18 female Team Manitoba team heading into their tournaments, WHL Cup for the U16 side, as well as the Nationals for the U18 female side of things. We're going to take a short little break here. I'll be back for some final news on this first edition back of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast on your home for U22 hockey in the province of Manitoba on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Stick with us. And welcome back to this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Just to clarify, the WHL Cup will be held this year in Red Deer, Alberta, October 22nd to the 26th. So it wasn't far off in my assessment. Thought it was next month off the top of my head. Got that and the U18s mixed up. But yeah, speaking of U18 female hockey, we're going to have some great action coming up. Almost a week away at this point, just over that. Next Friday, we're going to start off our coverage in Portage la Prairie for the 2025 Central Plains Capital Showcase. Teams from Manitoba, Alberta as well as Saskatchewan will be competing during that weekend. Bundle is available to purchase now on gshowproductions.uscreen.io. Thanks to Daryl Gershman as well as Icewave Media for this wonderful picture that we were able to use in our promotion for this showcase. But yeah, $35 value for 14 games, 3 days of what should be high level, high intensity hockey, as these teams get a final tune-up heading into their regular season, which for the female side I know starts the last week of September to first week of October. And speaking of big news for us, new home of game day, mentioned it at the start of this episode, but it is on Uscreen, the website to go to, gshow.productions.uscreen.io. We also have it linked on our website, gshow.ca. But yeah, over 200 games in total this year, which will include regular season, playoffs, showcase, tournaments, and more. League and all access passes available now, where you can only watch on Uscreen. Looking forward to doing something similar to what the NHL does with their game recaps with highlights coming up this season. Maybe a bit shorter, may just include the goals, but we'll get creative with it. We'll have a lot of fun. I know that this hockey season coming up should be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. Last year was filled with so many great moments, and it seems like year in and year out, it's just something better and just more to love about the beautiful game that continues to grow here in the province of Manitoba. I'm not sure if what I said there made much sense, but yeah, so excited that I can't even put the exact words together to describe the hype that I have deep inside for this upcoming 2025-2026 season. As for Hockey Manitoba, they put out a bunch of news on their social media feeds. I restored my phone last week and lost access to my X account, so I haven't been able to see if they've been tweeting anything out. But I feel like what they post on their Instagram, you kind of see that on every single platform. So this is what I'm going to show you what I found. If anyone is interested, there are coaching clinics that are happening right now. Registration is now open. The main requirement is that all coaches registering for these clinics must complete the Respect in Sport course first. Be sure to visit Hockey Manitoba's website for more information about the coaching clinics for this upcoming season. Be sure to find this post on their Instagram, Hockey Manitoba. Simple enough to find it, but as for their website, it's hockeymanitoba.ca. More news from Hockey Manitoba. Well, one thing we know without officials, organized sports don't happen. That really is the honest truth. What they do goes unrecognized, and I think more than ever we need more officials. And more respect for officials, too, I'd say. I think that I'd like to say that it's gotten better, but enough of me rambling about that. Officiating clinics are now open now as registration for the 2025-2026 season. That information can be found on Hockey Manitoba's website. And you can also check out the clinics being offered for the upcoming season and what those requirements will be for those clinics. HockeyManitoba.ca for more information, as well as check them out through their Instagram, as already mentioned, at Hockey Manitoba. NHL season coming up very soon as well. Don't know off the top of my head when the preseason is, but I know that the team has already been skating. Johnny Taves has already been skating. He's who I'm going to be talking about next week a bit, the move that Winnipeg made for them, and kind of talking about their offseason in general, what my overall thoughts are on those, and what I'm excited about the Jets, or what I'm excited for about the Jets content coming up this season is just the fact that I think the first time I ended up doing Winnipeg Jets content, it was something that I wanted it to be mandatorily in the programming. But for taking a year off, I thought go away from that because the focus should be amateur hockey. But since this is the Manitoba Hockey Podcast, I thought why not bring it back this season? But in a more limited capacity, as already mentioned, I'll be talking about the Jets this year, but that won't be something we focus on week in and week out. Another thing I'm not going to do this year is tell you about who I think the guests are coming up in the next week of the podcast because, well, as you know, many times last season, that just usually didn't come to fruition of who I mentioned. They couldn't make it on for some reason. It couldn't happen for one reason or another. But what you can expect is if there are guests, you can find them in the description of all of our episodes. The next Manitoba Hockey Podcast episode will be coming out next Monday at 12 p.m. That's going to be the official show time for this year unless something comes up like we have a game to do, which most likely will never be the case on a Monday, or if something out of our control comes up, we may move the show time up. But every Monday, that's the goal this year. That's our big goal. Consistency is something we're striving for this season, and let's make things interesting. Let's say for whatever reason I'm not consistent, we'll put a punishment in there if we miss an episode for whatever reason, which I'm hoping for 0 punishments this year, upping the stakes a bit. As we're back to podcasting this year in the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Next week we'll have more results, more schedule updates from around the many leagues here in this great province. We'll have more news about our programming and what you can expect from us from our game day content for this upcoming season. And yeah, Jets talk, like I said, probably talking about Johnny Taves, the hometown, I'd say kid, but he ain't a kid. The hometown man coming back to his hometown here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You love to see it. Sets the stage for what should be an entertaining season of hockey here in Manitoba. And myself, Graham the G Show Forsyth, can't wait to be with you every step of the way to break things down here throughout the province. Until next Monday, everybody, I've been your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth. New Winnipeg High School Hockey League podcast premieres this Friday called Scholastics. And first episode of Season 3 of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast comes out tonight at 8 p.m. as well on our YouTube channel and as well as on our website. Until next time, though, 7 days from now, Manitoba hockey fans. As I've already said, I've been your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth. Peacing out and waving so long. Take care, everybody.